A debut winner at Santa Anita impresses. We look back at the Bayou with the Silverbulletday and the LeComte Stakes. All of this coming up next on The Future Book. The road to the Kentucky Oaks got started at the fairgrounds this weekend, and it was Charlie's Penny drawing away to a front-running score down in the Bayou at the fairgrounds. And kind of an interesting race. Sunpath was the big favorite coming into this race, and kind of was started off early at 2 to 5, rotated between 3 to 5 and 4 to 5 on the board in most of the betting, and she was being hammered in the multi-race wagers. And it was kind of an interesting race from the start. The fractions were slow, and Brian Hernandez was able to rate the filly, Charlie's Penny. She kind of got comfortable out there, was able to slow down the fractions, especially that second quarter, and going into the turn, starting to scrub on the favorite, Sunpath, and Charlie's Penny just kept on finding more, drawing off to the victory for the Chicago-based stable of Chris Block. Of course, the first trip around 2 turns for Charlie's Penny, and she picked up the win in this stakes race. And Sunpath, a little bit of a disappointing effort. Will be interesting to see where she goes from here. Really no excuse. She ran out of the money. The runner-up, Super Sensational, had an interesting trip. Was behind the field on a slow fractions. Was at the rail kind of a couple of times. The jockey had a chance to get out here, and they were a little bit indecisive, and I think that kind of hurt Super Sensational the most. So she probably has a little bit more upside, especially coming off the long layoff, moving from synthetic to dirt. And I think she will probably relish the next leg, the Rachel Alexandra, if she stays there or goes to Oaklawn Park for her next race. And the winner, Charlie's Penny, stretched out nicely in her first turn. So a look back, interesting race, but the winners, Charlie Penny in the Silverbulletday. We stay down in the Bayou for the LeComte Stakes, and after the front-running score by Charlie's Penny, and we saw a few races that had some slow fractions. They were a little bit faster in the LeComte, but again, a slow pace kind of may have dictated the final terms of the race. This time around, it was Smokin' Joe Talamo taking the lead from the rail, the big strapping son of Tisnow. And of course, I think most people thought this horse might be a better 3-year-old than a 2-year-old, and that seemed to be the case here in the LeComte Stakes as Midnight Bourbon secured that rail, went to the lead, moderate fractions, a little bit over 24 and 3, but that was just enough of a separator to kind of establish that rhythm. And Midnight Bourbon kept on running, went wire to wire in the score. Now, I thought it was a good effort from the runner-up Proxy. He conceded some experience to the winner, Midnight Bourbon, and ran on and even outfought the third-place finisher, the big favorite Mandaloon, who ended up going off at right around 3 to 5 to 4 to 5 in this spot. So the order of finish, Midnight Bourbon, Proxy, and Mandaloon. I'm not so sure these 3 horses are separated by much. I think Mandaloon was a little bit disappointed in that effort. It looked like going into the turn, again, being scrubbed on a little bit. Now, the fractions were slow, the tail half of the card, and sometimes on those long days at the fairgrounds when they run 12, 13 races and it starts to get a little bit darker, the fractions do get a little bit slower. So I think we're going to have to wait to see how some of these horses run back. I think there was some trips in both the Silverbulletday and in the LeComte Stakes. The also-rans, not much to like there, but I'm not really sure much separates these top 3 finishers. I think Midnight Bourbon is definitely going to like the longer distances early on. They're indicating that they're going to come back possibly for the Risen Star, which will be 1 1/8 miles. And I think the runner-up Proxy most likely will probably come right back to the Risen Star, and we may even see Mandaloon. The only concern with Mandaloon, with him having kind of more of a sprint pedigree, and this was his first trip around 2 turns, I'm not sure he has that brilliant turn of foot. He kind of seems to be more of a grinder, which is unusual for a son of Into Mischief. He's a big horse, and I think he's another horse that may relish a little bit longer distance to kind of get more into that rhythm. But I think the top 3 will all come out of this race and continue on down the Derby Trail. I'm not sure of any of the other horses. So an interesting result to the LeComte Stakes. 10 points, 4 and 2 points for the top 3 finishers on the road to the Kentucky Derby for this one. The future book continues. Let's take a look at what happened around the country this last weekend. Noticeably on Friday, it was a debut winner, a smaller field. Bob Baffert sent out the top 2 favorites basically in this race, but at the end of the race it was Concert Tour who would kind of serve notice with a big victory in this one. Ended up being a nice little schooling race for Concert Tour, as a little bit of a speedball went out early and set the fractions, which allowed Concert Tour to kind of settle just off of him and just to the outside of him. So that allowed him a little bit of a target in his debut race, and he responded on his own, entering the turn, taking the lead, and then drawing off with ease and then galloping out nice. So a son of street sense for Bob Baffert, owned by Gary and Mary West. An interesting pedigree. The mother on this one ran in the Midwest, earned $105,000. She was purchased for $240,000, being a son of Tappet. Now the second and third mares did not do much on the racetrack, so not a deep female family here. If you get back further, you get a little bit of Stardom Bound and some other light black type winners here. But overall, the winner, interesting pedigree, debuting in mid-January, but debuting with a nice victory, gives them some options. Could be the San Felipe. Maybe they want to ship out, but really with only one race, a lot of times, you've got to go into that stakes pool because there just isn't going to be a lot of allowance non-winners of 2. And the Oaklawn races get filled up pretty fast, and so do the fairgrounds races. So you got maybe the possibility of going to New York or just staying out at Santa Anita and taking on some barn stablemates. But right now, Baffert's probably got 3 of the top 4 contenders coming up. As you look at that schedule on the West Coast, the Robert Lewis is coming up next on January 30th. That'll be the same day as the Holy Bull. Coming up this Friday, we've got opening day at Oaklawn Park, and the Smarty Jones Stakes has been drawn. Caddo River is going to be the big favorite in that one. We've got a preview coming up tomorrow. Look for a preview of the Smarty Jones Stakes. Also, Kentucky Derby Future Wager number 2 coming up this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 23 horses plus the ever popular field wager number 24. That'll be offered. We'll be taking a look at that. We've got the Pegasus Stakes we're going to be previewing this week. Now on the workout tab and where these horses are pointing up next, the Withers Stakes will be the next big race out in New York. Right now we've got Overtook, a Todd Pletcher horse for the Repole Stables. That one's going to be pointing for the Withers. Hello Hot Rod is going to be in the Withers. And Capo Kane, the winner of the Jerome Stakes. Out of that race is going to be Brooklyn Strong, the winner of the Remsen Stakes in November. He has got a slight injury, and he is going to have to pass on that Withers Stakes. Now, we did see a workout by 10 for 10 at the end of December, but he has not worked out in January as of Sunday morning here when we're recording here this future book. So right now, the Withers Stakes is going to be possibly 6 or 7 horses. We've got the Robert Lewis Stakes. We've got Spielberg headlining that effort. Maybe a couple of recent maiden winners out west also joining the field. Life is Good. I think we're most likely going to see him next in the San Felipe Stakes. Interesting thing, he worked out 9 days after his romping score in the San Felipe Sham Stakes, and I don't think we saw a top effort there. He was all elbows and heels in that workout. Elbows were back, the heels were dug in, and he seemed to have a lot of energy in that 4 furlong drill. Southwest Stakes, it looks like Keep Me in Mind has got on a regular workout pattern. He is going to be pointing to the Southwest Stakes. And also, Highly Motivated got back onto the workout tab on Sunday. That was really the only horse that was missing from the workout tab from the big speed figures, and I'm not so sure yet if he's going to be pointing more for a race like the Woody Stevens or if they're going to actually get serious and maybe try to stretch him out in a race like the Florida Derby or one of the Tampa races this spring. So Highly Motivated for trainer Chad Brown getting his first work back. So an interesting development. Of course, with Oaklawn Park, we'll probably see some nice maiden races that opening weekend and that second weekend that'll line up to the Southwest Stakes. And then a lot of the horses getting their back on their normal workout patterns as we continue to train up to these middle round preps. The Holy Bull Stakes, I think we're going to see Donegal Bay for Todd Pletcher, a maiden winner. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Prime Factor. He's been working out since that maiden score, or he may go to Tampa Bay. And I thought originally we might see 10 for 10 in that spot, but with no workouts in January, I think that's going to be a tight turnaround for him to get back on the workout tab and hit that Holy Bull. So possibility of 6 or 7 horses for the Holy Bull Stakes on January 30th. That's going to do it for another edition of the Future Book every single Monday. Remember, hit subscribe so you don't miss an edition. This week we've got some Kentucky Derby talk and Kentucky Newbury Future Wager Pool number 2, the Pegasus Stakes, and the Smarty Jones Stakes coming up tomorrow. A preview on that one. Hit like and leave a comment as we lead you up on another edition. And remember, as D. Wayne Lucas always says, people have opinions, horses have the facts.